Okay, we have the last question before we go for lunch.
My name is Patricia. Ronald said remittance will be replaced to development, and I understand your explanation. But I would like to know the view of Manuel Oroso about this issue for replacement. My second question is to Ronald. Remittance is one of important sources of Somalia, and after the collapse of Siad Barre regime, they get 760 million a yearly, and from Somali diaspora from North America, Europe. And since 2001, there is a restriction for Somali diaspora, Somali money transaction offices, and it is very difficult to send money to Somalia. You can send money Somalia only illegally. For example, in USA you can send it legally, but in the Netherlands it's very difficult. So what is the policy in the Netherlands for this problem? Because we saw that the money sent to Somalia decreased from Netherlands. Somali diaspora in the Netherlands, they have problem. We cannot send money legally. And still we don't have any policy in the Netherlands. So I would like to know, do you have any policy there? That is my question to Ronald, and I would like to hear. Thank you.
I'm going to link Fran's question with Fatuma's question. Let me start with Fatuma's question. I'm not going to speak for Ronald. He's a big boy. And he's not going to lose his job for the replacement word. But I think what Ronald meant to say is the following, is that the impact of remittances on development is quite positive. If we enable, or if we try to leverage these flows in more efficient ways, the effect of remittances on development will be so significant that we may be able to not rely on foreign aid in the future. And I think that's the type of thing we're trying to do, working at different levels with developing institutions to leverage remittances, for example, to increase asset building into the financial sector of the society so that people can be able to build wealth and have a better quality of life. Now, on Fran's question, I think your question can be answered in two ways. One is what Laila was talking about, which is that, let's not focus on whether there is going to be an increase or a decrease of remittances. Let's focus on how to leverage these funds to create sustainable lifestyles in their home countries. But the other way to answer it is the following, is that there is a lot of anecdotal discussion right now about whether remittances are increasing or decreasing. And a lot of it is mostly based on hearsay than facts. If you want to have the facts of it, you need to look at the net effect of the expectation of migration in the future by people in the host country, in the home country, the expectation of continuing remitting by migrants in the host country, and three, by the expectation of those who are receiving for how long they're going to receive. And that's your first step component, and then you need to associate that to at least four factors. One is, how is the global economy performing? And right now it's performing in a way that there is an increasing, not a decreasing demand in foreign labor. That's obviously thwarted by, or in contradiction or in conflict with anti-immigration sentiments all over the world. But the fact of the matter, or the unfortunate fact of the matter, is that we see migration as a necessary evil. So you don't want migrants, but you hire them. So no matter how much you dislike them, you will continue to demand for their labor. The second issue has to do with the cycles of the economies. Yes, there are economic cycles everywhere. The US is going through a slowdown, not a recession, but it's slowing. And that may decrease, not necessarily completely, the demand for foreign labor. So unemployment among Hispanics increased from 5.5% to 7%. And there is a decline possibly in the sending of money, possibly, but we don't see that yet. At the same time, as the industrialized economies, 60% of remittances is coming from 6 regional blocks: Western Europe, the United States, Russia, and Kazakhstan, Southeast Asia, especially Japan, Singapore, and Hong Kong, and the Arab oil exporting countries. From those 5 regions in the world, you have most of the volume of remittances. These economies are becoming much more diversified in the economists that the demand for foreign labor is not only focusing, for example, as it is today in Russia, in construction and oil, but it's diversifying other sectors. So those factors are going to increase the demand. The other issue is demographic shifts. You guys are getting older, we're still young, and so you guys have been people in the Scandinavian countries and Western Europe, etc. You know, your average age is far much older than those of developing countries. So the only replenishment of your local labor force has to be through migration. And then you have two other factors. One is the extent of transnational engagement. What we're seeing is that the level of transnational engagement between migrants and their home country is far greater than it was before. So I think if we see declines in the amounts of money sending, they might either be because of speculation or because there are some small cycles. But the fact of the matter is that the continuity of remitting is going to grow dramatically. And then you have the statistical issue. Most central banks really didn't know how to measure remittances. When they started to measure it, you saw these huge increases of 20% of loss of remittances, but they were statistical, not human transfer increases. And there is a big difference. Now that they know how to measure, you can tell how much money are people sending because you know how many people are remitting. So that's where you see these more stable shifts. Thanks.
Okay. Ronald wants to respond also.
I want to respond to the Somalian question. Personally, I'm very impressed by the way Somalians are able to get money to Somalia by the illegal system, but it works. I also know that the Ministry of Finance, who is actually competent on this issue, wants to have it legal, and I think it's not possible to have legal transactions to Somalia because there is no central bank in Somalia, there's no established financial sector, so maybe that's what is needed, and maybe not a financial sector in a traditional way, but maybe a new technology like mobile banking could be very suitable for a country like Somalia, where you have coverage all over the country, and then the still missing link is how to get international transfers from the West here to the local bank system. But as long as there is no local bank system, there is no legal transfer possible. So that's the issue to be tackled, as I understand it.
Okay, thank you. So at this point, I'd like to thank our speakers for providing us with the input, and